Kid with a real boxer, real world champion boxer. That the only other time he was in to stand to get mad with that was against Fury's Tommy Fury, but it wasn't that level, obviously, and all the size things you just rightfully pointed out. But he would have been in there with, you know, I mean, it seemed crazy.
Gervonta Tank Davis has left fans in disbelief with his dramatic new physique ahead of his highly anticipated clash with Jake Paul. Known for his compact power and explosive athleticism, Davis has clearly taken his preparation to a completely new level. Recent training footage reveals a visibly bulked up, thicker version of Tank, a transformation that has set the boxing community on fire. His arms, shoulders, and chest appear noticeably more defined, suggesting a clear focus on power and durability. Many observers believe this transformation is no coincidence, it's a deliberate strategy to match Jake Paul's physical strength and size. The once lightweight phenom now looks like a fighter determined to prove that skill and speed can coexist with raw power.
You were yelling so much about him fight somebody your size. His next opponent is, by far, the most credentialed guy ever fought, active in his prime. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. He fights at 135.
As the countdown to his showdown with Jake Paul continues, Gervonta Davis's training camp has reportedly turned into an all-out war against weakness. His new regimen blends brutal strength circuits, high-volume resistance work, and non-stop conditioning sessions, all designed to fuel his muscle growth while maintaining his signature explosiveness. Sources close to the camp describe him integrating heavier compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, and presses alongside agility drills, ensuring he doesn't lose the quick footwork that defines his style. Sparring partners have also changed. Davis is now working with larger, heavier fighters, some even close to heavyweight size, to simulate the pressure and physical presence he'll face against Jake Paul. This move shows clear intent. He's conditioning his body and mind to stand up against bigger men, absorbing their power, and delivering it right back.
Yeah. This Santa Cruz right here, the desert. You can't let it burn, baby, let it burn. Mind over matter, son, mind over matter.
This is the blue zone.
Ain't nobody doing no shit like this. Come in the desert. Nigga trying to stay away from the desert, he come in the desert.
When the night
Camera. On you.
Light, camera, action.
Light, action. Cat.
Come on, Burn out. Dig down in there, dig down in there. 10 seconds. Don't think about it. Remember that gun on it? They got that gun on that tank. It goes,
when the night is cold.
He ain't gonna keep you here late at night. Good job.
It's been hard being away from my daughter. You know, she actually here, she sleep. Just being away from her, it was a little touchy, but I know when I'm up, you know, I guess. You know, I know that I got pay-per-view. You know, I know I'm fighting a tough opponent, so really I know how to lock in. I know how to shy away from everything. I know how to, like, I know how to fool around.
I said 10.
However, despite his new size, the challenge before Davis remains enormous. Jake Paul naturally fights in a much heavier division, with their agreed limit being 195 pounds, a stark contrast to Davis's usual 135-pound frame. Both will wear 12-ounce gloves, but that does little to bridge the massive weight disparity. Critics have raised serious concerns, noting that adding too much mass could dull Davis's lightning speed and sharp reflexes, the very tools that made him one of boxing's most feared finishers. This matchup forces Tank to walk a dangerous line, gain enough size to survive physically, but not so much that he loses what makes him special.
Jake Paul Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but Jake Paul now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
I mean, it's just fucking sick.
I mean, yeah, no, but dude,
Did
Jake.
you ever watch his highlights?
Jake can crack,
nasty,
man.
He's so sick. I love that guy, bro.
Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. You have the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Tank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skills, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Tank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. Well, no, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. Boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Tank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts like a dum.
UFC President Dana White didn't hold back when asked about the potential Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight. He bluntly stated that, in his view, very few people are truly excited for it, yet admitted that it might still help Tank's career in a roundabout way. Davis has faced months of bad publicity and personal turmoil outside the ring, which have slowed his momentum. White suggested that a fight with Jake Paul, despite its circus-like appeal, could give Davis a much-needed financial and media boost. White broke down the matchup analytically, arguing that Jake Paul's natural size, reach, and raw strength could smother Davis's offense. Paul could use his 6 feet 1 inch frame to clinch, lean, and wear down the smaller man. While he acknowledged Tank's superior boxing IQ and technical prowess, White cautioned that when elite skills meet such a massive physical gap, the scales often tip toward size and pressure. To him, this fight isn't a pure boxing contest, it's a test of how much punishment and physical control Davis can endure.
Is picking Jake Paul to beat Gervonta Davis. This is not a fight that I'm excited for at all. I would rather have Gervonta Davis fighting in a real boxing match against the likes of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Emmanuel Navarrete, anybody that is in the 135-pound division and around. That's who I want to see Gervonta Davis fight. However, we live in a world where everybody is trying to do things as big as possible, and the biggest fights possible right now, unfortunately for the sport of boxing, is an exhibition fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. So, I do like it for this reason though. I like it because it is allowing Gervonta Davis to have a fight that is going to be big and that the mainstream media is going to have to cover, the mainstream media outside the world of boxing. Gervonta Davis has been, without a doubt, blocked, having venues blocked, having fighters, having other promoters paying fighters away to go different directions from Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis was in a bit of a hole. And he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries. But you gotta love Dana White having the audacity to pick Jake Paul in this fight, and says something to the effect that, hey, he was talking to Logan Paul and said, hey, when you were fighting Floyd, you know, there was this, you're a gigantic guy, big size difference. There was a time when Floyd Mayweather Jr. hit, had an overhand right that landed flush on Logan Paul.
Bare-knuckle brawler and former UFC fighter Mike Perry also jumped into the conversation, taking direct aim at Davis. Perry accused Tank of chasing a cash grab instead of pursuing meaningful boxing challenges, claiming it reflects a loss of hunger and drive. He questioned whether Davis still has the same passion that made him a champion in the first place. In Perry's opinion, accepting a fight against a YouTuber-turned-boxer undermines Davis's legacy. He even went as far as saying Jake Paul's discipline and work ethic might currently outshine Tank's. the remarks sparked a fierce debate among fans. Some sided with Perry, arguing that Davis is prioritizing money and fame over legacy. Others defended him, saying the fight could serve as a platform to prove that elite boxers, even smaller ones, can shut down big-name entertainers in the ring.
Jake is big, Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, I mean, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw, and, you know, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
At the official face-off, Gervonta Davis appeared uncharacteristically tense, an unusual sight for a fighter known for exuding confidence and swagger. Observers noted his rigid posture, tight facial expression, and lack of direct eye contact with Jake Paul. Standing across from the much taller and broader Paul, Davis seemed to absorb the magnitude of the size difference firsthand. Some fans interpreted his body language as quiet focus, while others believed it revealed a rare glimpse of self-doubt. Either way, the moment showed just how real the physical challenge is even for someone as fearless as Tank.
Tank looked very uncomfortable facing off. He just did. I've seen other face-off this Tank done. He gets in their face and they're intense and he looks good. He looked very meager up there. You've had 8 fights and you're gonna go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. There is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious moment for Jake. But where the compliment comes is it means the public believes he's gonna win.
Veteran boxing analyst Teddy Atlas also weighed in, highlighting the glaring size gap between the two. He humorously remarked that Tank would need a ladder just to reach Jake Paul's chin, but then turned serious, explaining that this isn't a typical weight jump, it's an extreme mismatch. Atlas compared it to Canelo Alvarez moving up to face Terence Crawford, noting that even in that hypothetical, the physical difference wouldn't be nearly as severe. In his view, Davis's shorter reach and smaller frame make this contest more spectacle than sport, a promotional stunt that exaggerates boxing's worst trends.
He's right. They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff particularly should be in the contract. But I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, all kidding aside, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but you know, a little different. The size difference was, I mean, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping, and it made me think, and I'm going to ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taking, who does such a marvelous job. I'm going to ask him, because I know he's an expert in this area, but it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, a.k.a. Thunderlips. He was Thunderlips back there. And I thought I had it right, and it was confirmed to me. It's Rocky.
Shakur Stevenson was equally dismissive of the rumored fight, calling it a terrible idea for boxing. The undefeated champion argued that such mismatches hurt the sport's credibility and distract from genuine competition. Stevenson emphasized that while both men are stars in their own ways, the fight is clearly a financial play rather than a fair athletic contest. He warned that if events like this continue, they could erode the distinction between professional boxing and celebrity exhibitions.
He'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I mean, I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure. Do you think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah. I mean,
It's a huge size advantage, though.
it is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
Leonard Ellerby, who has long been close to Davis, shed light on Tank's recent mindset. He explained that Davis had been going through significant personal struggles and wasn't mentally ready to take on high-pressure fights for a while. That, according to Ellerby, is why previous matchups, including those fans wanted most, never materialized. Tank, he said, was prioritizing his emotional stability and personal life rather than forcing himself into fights when not fully focused. The choice to step away temporarily was about self-preservation, not avoidance.
Leonard Ellerby said, to tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired, that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it, and he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach, and that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight Vasily.
Jake Paul's approach to boxing has always walked the line between competition and entertainment. Instead of chasing rankings or legitimate world titles, he consistently picks opponents who maximize public interest, retired MMA stars, former champions, and now, potentially, undersized elite boxers like Davis. His fights generate massive online engagement and financial success, regardless of purists' criticism. The main controversy surrounding the potential Paul Davis bout lies in their stark physical differences. Jake Paul, standing at 6 feet 1 inch and fighting near 200 pounds, towers over Gervonta Davis, a 5 feet 5 inches lightweight who typically weighs around 130 pounds. Davis's speed, precision, and timing have made him dominant at lower divisions, but against a man this much larger, many wonder if those strengths can still hold up.
Holy shit, Jake Paul versus Tank Davis is actually happening. What the f is going on? I guess Tank is going broke because that's the only justifiable reason you ruin your legacy against a guy like Jake Paul. And yes, I do think Jake Paul is going to win. Tank Davis is a much better boxer and has crazy power, but he's 5'5", 130. That power is not going to carry over against someone who is 6'1", 210. And it's not like Jake is bad. Yes, his fights are boring. He says he's going to step in the ring and sleep his opponents, but the only people who end up sleeping are the audience. Mike Tyson fight. But at the end of the day, he's a big guy with power who is training boxing full time, and he has beaten some legitimate competition. Woodley, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, Mike Perry had a competitive fight with Tommy Fury, but it's crazy how particular Jake has to be when selecting his opponents. They have to have enough clout to be interesting, enough skill to be taken seriously as a threat, but at the same time have clear weaknesses and disadvantages that Jake and his team can exploit to win. Now that he's fighting an elite boxer, he has to fight someone 7 weight classes down. I mean, Tank could win if he makes Jake do a very aggressive weight cut, but I just don't see that happening. I got Jake by 3rd round TKO. He should put me on the co-main event and allow me to fight Francis Ngannou. That would be an easy first round knockout.
MMA legend Nate Diaz dismissed the entire discussion with characteristic bluntness. He stated that he had zero interest in the fight and wouldn't even bother predicting a winner. To Diaz, the matchup represents everything wrong with modern boxing, where money, hype, and social media buzz outweigh merit and skill. He argued that events like this reduce boxing to show business, stripping away the honor and authenticity that once defined it. It's not a fight, Diaz said, it's a payday.
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna be.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think.
He's just too small.
It's just It's just I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually. I'm not hating on the fight, but I think my thoughts on it is let's watch and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing is turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. You agree? Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor?
Yeah, but the whole thing's at WWE. So
right.
Like, at least that's happening and getting something to talk about, something to watch, and I'm looking forward to that.
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping echoed that frustration. He expressed concern over the massive weight imbalance, pointing out that Jake Paul is nearly 100 pounds heavier than Gervonta Davis, an absurd difference by combat sports standards. Bisping also recalled how Paul's exhibition with Mike Tyson raised similar eyebrows, given Tyson's age and retirement status. According to him, boxing is increasingly being hijacked by spectacle-driven matchups that favor headlines over heritage. Instead of crowning champions or settling rivalries, promoters are prioritizing viral potential, and the Paul Davis idea is the latest and perhaps most extreme example.
That is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word: whoa, 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 stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers.
So the question remains, is this fight an exciting crossover event that brings new audiences to boxing, or just another cynical publicity stunt that damages the sport's integrity? Fans are divided, but one thing is certain: if it happens, the world will be watching.